Art has meant different things at different times. In Renaissance, art was used to promote beauty, truth, and wisdom of religion and politics. For Marcel Duchamp, art was the main agent to promote things. Tolstoy states in his essay What is Art? Manifest that our life is filled with work of art, which is he considered that lullabies, jokes, mimicry, laughs, home decorations are all forms of art. For Vygotsky, the infamous psychologist from the 19th century, art is a social technique of human emotions. He says, art is a tool of society, which brings the most intimate and personal aspect of our being into the circle of a social life. So for Hegel, truth and beauty are the same. For Spencer, the origin of art is play. Similarly, for Stiller, the aim of art is beauty and the source of pleasure. For Kant, aesthetics are based on how man perceives nature. Kerr manifests that art has interdisciplinary aspect in understanding the world, which he expounded in his essay on the philosophy of art. Beauty gives us the means to fully comprehend the objective world without reference to the other part of the world, which is indispensable for science. Going back to Vygotsky, he delineates that art is a social practice. How you view and perceive one thing would differ from how I view. My interpretation of an object would be different from what Leonardo da Vinci interpreted, given the fact that each of our life is distinct and unique. Let's take the following as an example to delve more deeply into this. This is Seesaw at the Border. An American architect, Professor Ronald Rail, and his crew installed pink seesaws at the border of Mexico and the United States on July 30th, 2019. These seesaws are not dissimilar to ordinary seesaws on the playground. The main difference is their unusual location and the fact that it took 10 years of planning and design before having them installed, and people finally could laugh with joy while riding them. So this rule-based play requires at least one person from each country to participate in the act of riding the seesaw in a unified way. However, the seesaw is a public entity that may carry distinct meaning to children, adults, and spectators from each side of the border and its creator. For some, this can be a politically and socially challenging piece that engenders political interpretations due to its location and the state of social affairs, while for others, this is the pure act of play. To this extent, the seesaw carries fluid interpretation based on the social world the perceivers inhabit, and it encourages unification. So simply put, individuals produce and reproduce interpretation of the object in question through ongoing negotiation of the world. Like what was asserted by Vygotsky, art is a social practice. There is a famous saying by David Hume, an empiricist, beauty is the eye of the beholder. As such, our idea of right or wrong, ethical or immoral, beautiful or ugly, and the value of art is contextual to our experience within the society. Following John Dewey's idea of experience, the formation of our value system is grounded in our past experiences. And this body of experience is importantly shaped by the social and cultural environment. The individual of history of a person is embedded in a culture, which in turn allows for the social life. Dewey continued to explain that culture is a complex whole, which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, costumes, and any other capacities acquired by persons as a member of society. And that our body of experience would differ considerably depending on which social conditions and cultural environment we found ourselves. Our experiences are instrumental in shaping our attitudes, our doing, and our valuing. With art in particular, the ordinary experiences in society shapes our way of creating, viewing, doing, thinking, and understanding the meaning of the artwork as an aesthetic experience. Art often welcomes viewers' interpretation, inviting their own experiences, knowledge, and sense perceptions to speculate on the meaning of the work. You have heard that there is no wrong in art, not necessarily because everyone is correct, but because we cannot judge another's work without knowing about the history of the art creator and the context in which the art was created. Unfortunately, exposure to such knowledge is unlikely unless you're the creator. This may be the biggest reason why one piece of art can engender myriad interpretations. I believe that this is what makes art so subjective, and that is what makes art as discipline so unique. Being critically subjective, however, requires an understanding of the object or concepts being analyzed and wielding an incisive judgment about them. In this way, achieving true subjectivity eschews apathy and laziness, but demands a thorough examination of the concepts or object in question. But developing subjectivity isn't only about acquiring knowledge and being incisive. Subjectivity is developed through our experience, and our experience is closely linked to the society that we live in. Shifting people's subjectivity often takes time. It is referential to the social structure and culture. So where do they get their ideas? How do their ideas fit into the world around them? In other words, how people perceive aesthetic is also a reflection of society, history, economy, and culture which they are surrounded. So subjectivity requires an intellectual ability to understand and appreciate art. Therefore, in order to perceive a work of art, one must understand overall context in which the work was created and the process of art is run through. Not only that, you only as a viewer should have a practice ability to perceive the artwork using your own knowledge and experience to create an informed and subjective interpretation of it. As such, both making art and viewing art makes you continuously think about the ideas and object in question. So there's a good deal of evidence that learning is enhanced when teachers pay attention to the knowledge and beliefs that learners bring to a learning task, and use this knowledge as a starting point for new instructions, and monitor students' changing conceptions as instruction proceeds. In other words, when education in student-centered learning improves overall, both for students and the teacher. Critical thinking skill. Marcus from the Frankfurt School claimed that art doesn't change the world, but art may change the consciousness of people who can change the world. Art has a potential to change people's belief and way of thinking. When art has this much power, teachers should teach their students how to effectively use art instead of abusing the power that they have. We have to assist our children to develop an ability to critically situate themselves in their subjective reality and to critically analyze their interactions with the subject and the object within their social environment. This can be practiced through art evaluation. For example, an evaluation of their own artwork or others begins with cognition because seeing and knowing art is associated with distinctively intellectual entities. Another practice can be thinking about what makes a good work of art. For example, any work of art from Dada takes a different form from a work that was produced thousands of years ago in ancient Greece. Struggling to find the commonality between the two and understanding what commonalities make them both great works of art can be an effective practice in showing students what makes any work of art a masterpiece. Intuitively, having some level of craftsmanship is understood to be an essential skill in the learning of art. What is the objective of learning of art? Is it building an artistic dexterity? What is the artistic dexterity for? Is it creating a powerful art that should shift people's preconceptions? A person who is not an android craftsman could still create an impactful artwork that may change people's perception around the world. Do we hold the view that craftsmanship and understanding or love of subject matter should go hand in hand? In this vein, having an adept artistic dexterity may be a significant aspect in art. A probable explanation for this is that without having the skills, it may limit our artistic ability to fully express their creativity. Each discipline requires some level of apprenticeship. In art, building a mastery is one of them. We teach students how to properly handle their instruments and encourage them to explore as many notes, mediums, themes, and genres as possible. Art is a type of language. Many of the creators use art as an expressive tool. In this sense, the creation becomes a language. Marcus, a German philosopher, once noted that great works of art have the ability to deliver a message that normal speech just can't deliver on its own. Great works of art have the ability to make people feel. Additionally, one single piece of art has a potential to deliver a great message throughout the centuries and across languages and culture. The message continues as long as the artwork exists, which can have an impact on the successive generations. People in the future, they might experience the art even after the creator's death. Du had a similar idea. He stated in his book, Artist Experience, that each art speaks an idiom that conveys what cannot be said in another language, and yet remains the same. He once said each art medium was somehow fitted for one kind of communication. So where does art stand in education? Fighting for art and its importance are ever challenging throughout the history of education. There are many circumstances in which art is subordinated and its status as academic discipline becomes threatened. We cannot talk about this phenomena without talking about money. Art education in today's society is undermined due to the emergence of the high-paced work environments of the 21st century and the fact that the arts aren't making as much money as STEM fields. So arts are less favored. Peter W. Esser in his dissertation argued that industrialization intensified stratification in societies and creating gaps in separation that operate the many levels of societal life. Industrialized society demands people with STEM backgrounds. These people are more desired in the job market, which leads to create stratification and separations of subjects taught in school. In retrospect, the infrastructure of the education is referential to this phenomenon. One such example is national exams like the SATs. Even in Ontario, students in grade 3, 6, 9, and 10 take province-wide tests conducted by Ontario's Education Quality and Accountability Office, so-called EQAO, to examine their literacy and numeracy skills. A few months before the test, language and math classes take over visual arts learning periods. So a practice like this to show that how the Ontario society structure and education system impinge upon art education. Frankly speaking, arts may not need to be an academic subject in the school setting, as long as arts and other academic subjects are properly integrated through arts. Art integration often misleads teachers to believe that it is a teaching approach that uses art as a vehicle to demonstrate content knowledge of other subjects. By the definition, art integration in education means that it is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an arts forms. Students engage in a creative process which connects arts form and another subject area and meets evolving objective in both. Due to the connotation of subservient art that art integration has, I prefer calling it integration through arts instead. Integration through arts is about building an intellectual ability through interdisciplinary connections. For example, subjects such as math, history, science, geography, physical education can be interpreted and clarified through the lens of art. So, it is now your turn to tell me what art is to you.